Hi guys, I am back with another review. This time we will be doing kind of a dual review of the shows Arrow and The Flash. I'll probably focus a little bit more on Arrow than I do The Flash just because you'll find out why. Anyway, so these are two DC shows that interconnect, so I figured that's a good enough reason to put them together. I know there's a lot more of in this. It's called the Arrowverse because Arrow was the first one, so it, I guess, gets to name the entire universe. But yeah, there are, I know, a lot of other shows in this universe. I have not gotten the chance to watch all of them. Some of them I am not even interested in watching. So there's, yeah. It's just, it is what it is. So, yes. I mean, I love Marvel and DC, but I am not a huge fan of DC movies. After like the Dark Knight trilogy, I feel like they kind of just dropped in quality, and yeah, they were not great, and I did not like some of the casting choices they made, and things that just didn't make sense, and the quality of the movies just kind of sucked. Sorry for those of you that are really enjoying those ones, like Justice League and the first Suicide Squad movie they did. I know they did a remake of it, but yeah, that's Suicide Squad. Batman versus Superman. Yeah, I kind of hated all of those. None of them were good. And Batman versus Superman, I barely even followed the plot. There were points where I was just wondering, what the heck is going on? And how did we get here? And why are they doing this ridiculous decisions over this tiny little... Anyway, long story short, I don't like those movies. They did get a little bit better. Wonder Woman was good up until the ending where they just, oh, Ares is still alive and he's the reason like the world war is happening. Because it honestly would have been better if, nope, Ares is dead and Diana realizes that no, people aren't all good, and they stop the plane of gas bombs, and you know, World War kind of finishes the way it does normally in history. That would have been a better ending than kind of just basically retconning the lesson and saying, and it's like her, because at the end she even goes like, yes, people aren't all good, blah blah blah, but then when she just defeated Ares and everyone put down their weapons and they're like, oh, no more fighting. So yeah, that made the lesson she learned at the end a lot less impactful. So it would have been better if Ares just didn't exist and she just had to figure out how to stop World War without, oh, there's this magical solution. So that one was okay, not great. Aquaman was, again, okay. Not great, but it was okay. Shazam was good. And then, oh, what else was up? The second Wonder Woman, 1984, was also good. And then the Snyder Cut was fantastic. Fantastic. I should do like an entirely separate review on that. But anyway, my point is, the movies have not been great. They have been getting a little bit better, but not exceptionally better. And so finding good DC, like cinematic DC content is kind of what I really want. Like Young Justice, I love it. And we will talk about the second half of season 4 in another video when it's done being released. But yeah, like Young Justice, an amazing animated show that it represents the DC heroes, and I love it. Same with Teen Titans and some of their older animated shows, and it's, yeah, it's just great. And I want more good DC content. So I was very excited when I watched Arrow because it's really good. So far of what I have seen of the other Arrowverse shows, Arrow is definitely the best, and it doesn't have as much CGI, which is probably why, like, CGI quality wise, it's better, because in Flash they try to do more of these big things, so they have to use more CGI, but then they have less of a budget because they keep hiring more actors, so it kind of just gets crappy CGI, which is really sad, because some of the characters that they do that require being full CGI, or any of that, it makes it very sad. But Arrow has its moments. It has a few moments where there's just like a split second where you go, ugh, you just cringe, and then it's over. So I'm willing to let that slide. Also, it's a much more intriguing story than like The Flash. This entire review is kind of just going to be me comparing the two. It is a much more intriguing story than The Flash, and his struggle with being the Hood, and then the Arrow, and then later on eventually the Green Arrow, but struggling with that and maintaining his humanity. He's fantastic, and he's kind of a morally gray character at the beginning, because it's just like, yes, he's fighting for a good cause, but he's doing all these crimes and he is murdering these people, so he has very interesting character development, and him going through and kind of regaining the humanity that he lost during his 5 years stranded on the NU and in Tokyo and in all of the other places he went, because seriously, he's went a lot of different places, guys. But anyway, yeah, it's a very interesting story. It got me hooked very, very easily. I'll be honest, I watched The Flash first because I don't remember why. I kept hearing that Flash was good. I mean, I'd also heard a few things about Arrow, but I heard more stuff about Flash, and so I don't know. I got the opportunity to watch it, so I just started it. And then when Oliver Queen started coming in different scenes, and maybe in a crossover or two, I got very interested in his series, so I started watching that, and no regrets. But yeah, it's just got very interesting villains, like the Dark Archer or Malcolm Merlyn, and the whole undertaking, and it's very cool. And the idea of just straight up in the first season, they go with the concept of, no, the hero failed. Now, majority of the glades were destroyed because there was more than one earthquake machine. So and a lot of they just do that right out of the gate. Nope, you failed. Now we get to deal with the fallout. That was very cool. And then, season 2. I feel like everyone loves season 2 the most. And it's understandable because the main villain is Deathstroke. And I have to say, Deathstroke is one of my favorite DC villains. Seriously. I love it. And I love him, like in Teen Titans he shows up. I love him in that. He shows up in Young Justice. He's fantastic in that, even though he doesn't have a whole lot of screen time. And I love him in this. I have to say, casting for this was great. The one thing that I did not understand this is off the topic of villains, is Laurel. She goes by her middle name. Her first name is technically Dinah, because, she's the Black Canary, so her name has to be Dinah Lance. But then her mom's name is also Dinah, and who the heck names their child after the mother? Who does that? Maybe as a middle name, but why would you name them that as their first name? Because then you're gonna call them by their middle name anyway, so there's no confusion. At which point, that their middle name just should have been their first name. That was the only thing that kind of irritated me, and I got over it because I'm like, whatever. But just the concept of you named your daughter after her mother made no sense to me. It was a little bit weird. But anyway, back to villains, because that's what I was on. League of Assassins, which is, I think, called League of League of Shadows in other things, but it's called League of Assassins in this, which is fine. That's not a big deal. Why'd they call it something else in this? Anyway, I also love that, which was season 3. I love that as well, just because the League of Assassins, and I loved them. I loved them so much. And again, just Ra's al Ghul and this whole concept of him thinking Oliver's his heir, so then he threatens the city in order to get this one man to do what he believes, fulfill what he believes is his destiny. And I thoroughly enjoyed that season as well. I will agree the first seasons are definitely the best, but that's just because as they get further along in the seasons, they have to cross over with the other shows more, and the other shows are a little bit weirder than Arrow and a little more far-fetched, so then it bleeds into Arrow, which is a little bit sad, but yeah. Anyway, then Damien Dark was also a very cool villain. As I said, casting for stuff was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I feel like the side characters were fleshed out enough that, you know, they had a story, and it's not just you're here for this purpose and nothing else. I will say it took me a while to care about the new Team Arrow when Thea and Roy and Dig and Laurel, you know, moved on. You know, Laurel died. Sad. Yeah, that was one thing. They also killed off characters because I feel like, yeah, Danielle Panabaker plays Caitlin in The Flash, literally said that she was playing random Would You Rather. It's just like, or who would you rather? It's like, who would you want in this situation? And it was asked, who would you want to help you bury a body? And she literally said, I don't think we could bury a body because there's a good chance that the person we're trying to bury will just come back. So that plays it well. That's one of the problems I had with The Flash is they had so many psych out deaths. It's like, oh, they died, but they're gonna come back. Maybe not, maybe it's just as a doppelganger, but they still come back. And it's like E. Barthon. He literally gets erased from existence because his ancestor is killed. And yet they find ways to bring him back, and they don't explain it. They just say, oh, time travel's weird. And it's like, no. If his ancestor is killed, he would be erased from the timeline completely, so therefore he would never exist. So any of the other weird time travel things that he did in order to, like, his time, it's like, oh, time remnants, he's traveled through all these different times first. Like, no, he would be erased from existence, so he'd never be able to go and make those time travel trips or make those time remnants. So he could not do that. So he could not come back, and yet they continue to bring him back, and that was super annoying to me. But they finally got rid of his speed, so he should never come back ever again. I'm sorry. The fake out deaths annoy me. But the only time they ever have like oh, you're not actually dead, technically, is with Sarah. And technically speaking, they only do it once. But she does actually die. And then they just bring her back. That's like the only like resurrection that we have, because Thea doesn't technically die. She just gets her wounds healed. Roy, we don't even see that part, but he just gets his wounds healed as well. He doesn't actually die. So yeah, Sarah's the only one that dies and then comes back. All the other characters that die stay dead, which I appreciate. But yeah, I mean, until the end, that was a little bit weird when they resparked the multiverse and he just fixes everything. Like, oh, all of these dead people that are not integral to form, you know, creating who the blah, 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 turning me into who I am, they just come back from the dead. And I get that he's pulling it from the multiverse so that he's pulling different people from across the multiverse. Is kind of how I understand it, and putting them all onto Earth Prime. But it was a little bit like, oh, so there were no stakes, because I think Dinah gets her cry back. That was another thing. They just named the new Black Canary Dinah because she didn't have to be named Dinah. She really didn't, but whatever. Yeah, Dinah gets her cry back, I'm pretty sure, and everyone's just back. It worked, but it was a little bit like, oh, it's like there went all the stakes from the entire season, or excuse me, series. But it didn't happen until the very end of the series, so it was fine. Anyway, yeah. I should get... my brain's all over the place. Sorry. Came off of work and decided I don't have a lot of time. Let's do this. I'm flying off the cuff. Anyway. Yes. Arrow was fantastic. Damien Dark was good. I liked him. And again, I feel like that it brought in the magic, so that brought in things, made things a little bit weirder, but not Flash weird, not an unexplained weird. In the Flash, a lot of the things that they bring in that are either weird or don't make sense, they don't explain, so it doesn't make sense, so it still doesn't make sense, so then it's just off-putting, which is sad because Flash started out like the first season or two were good, and then by season 3, I was like, oh, it's another evil speedster. Sad. It was disappointing that they had 3 straight seasons where the main villain was a speedster, when the Flash villains are just, they have to be able to outthink or outmaneuver him because of his super speed, and so that was a little bit annoying. And then when they got to season 4 and they finally did have a villain who didn't have super speed, I found DeVoe super disappointing and not an intriguing villain at all. So that was just sad to me. I think it was one of my least favorite seasons because I didn't like DeVoe as a villain. Not that I disliked him, like he's such a good villain that I hate him. No, he was just very meh. I didn't like him. I can't even remember who the villain was for season 5. That just simply goes to show, 1, how long ago it's been since I watched the show, which it really hasn't been that long, and 2, how little I cared at this point. By season 3, 4, actually probably by season 4, I was just along for the ride, and it's just how crazy and far out can they get. But yeah, I didn't like season 7. The new forces, like the Still Force and the Strength Force. Why would you name it the freaking Strength Force? It's very unoriginal, especially when you have something as big as the Still Force, not the Time Force, because he controls time. We call it the Still Force, and not the Fear Force, because his main power is he shows people their fear, but the Sage Force, which, yeah. And then the Strength Force, who I just didn't like at all. All the other ones had a human form of some kind, and they stayed in that form. And then we had the Strength Force, who just turns into a weird goblin thing whose CGI sucked. So that was very sad, and I did not like that season at all. Or was that season 7 or 6? It may have been the first part of season. Anyway, whatever season that was. I don't even remember. And then, because season 7 also had the Army of Godspeeds, which I also didn't like. I'm not the biggest fan of Nora and Bart. They're kind of annoying. Anyway, yeah, needless to say, I enjoyed the first season or 2 of Flash. I enjoy Grant Gustin as the Flash, as Barry Allen. He does very well. But I could care less about pretty much everything else in the show. I do like Tom Cavanaugh just as an actor. Tom Cavanaugh he did play Eobard Thawne very well. And I was okay with his different doppelgangers. Harry was definitely my favorite of them, though. Anyway, yeah, just all that to say, Flash got really weird really quick, and I was along for the ride for the rest of it. I keep watching it because I don't think it's going to get any better than it already is. It's not going to get better than it is right now. It's not going to get back to where it was. And I have no hope really for it. It's probably just going to get weirder, but I'm almost just watching it because it's like, you know how you drive past a car wreck on the road and can't help but look at it? I'm watching this series burn, essentially. I'm seeing how far can it digress from where it started, which is weird. Yeah, it's one of those shows where you can't stop watching it, even though you might want to, or you're not necessarily enjoying it anymore. It's kind of, just to watch it just decline. So that's my thoughts on Flash. I keep bouncing between them. I'm sorry. This is not a great format. Back to Arrow. We talked about sort of about the villains. Prometheus. I did really like Prometheus. That was a great season and just very intriguing. And I really liked. That was season 5. Yeah, season 5. I really did like Prometheus and that whole season. And then Diaz, he was okay. He was probably the most meh villain of all of them. But, you know, he posed a threat. He was just straight up a psychopath. And yeah, he covered, okay, season and a little. He was almost a half of season 7. But yeah, that season 6 was pretty good. I honestly, there's nothing actually, because it started out as Katie and James in season 6, and then it turns out that Diaz is the overarching villain. Yeah, season 6 was okay. After season 5, it wasn't anything to write home about, but yeah, but seeing the aftermath of the finale of season 5 was great, and William warming up to his dad and injuries and Oliver going, okay, I can't be Green Arrow for a little while, and that was really, really interesting to see. More so than Diaz. Oh yeah, and the FBI investigations, just okay. Yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't exceptional, but it was a very interesting season, and it was very good. It definitely trumps most of the Flash seasons. Then season 7 was partly Diaz and then Emiko and the Ninth Circle, which I feel like at this point it's a very convoluted family tree. So I mean, I wasn't surprised that she was Robert Queen's daughter, but it was also oh, okay. This is literally here just so that you can put tension on and stress on Oliver so that he, has to go. It's oh, I have to believe she's not a bad guy. So it was a little bit, again, it was interesting and I enjoyed it, and it was better than a lot of the Flash seasons, but it wasn't the best season. Although in season 6, I loved the feud between the teams. I mean, it took me a while to get emotionally, I mean, I wasn't ever really emotionally attached to. It took me a while to appreciate and like Dinah, Renee, and Curtis. But I got there. Curtis was never my favorite. He wasn't great. I loved Rory. He was probably my favorite. I loved Ragman, and he left. It was very sad for me that Rory left, which was technically in season 5. But yeah, I loved Ragman, and now he's gone, and it makes me so sad. But Dinah was okay. Renee was pretty good. Curtis was whatever. Curtis was there, really. That. Sorry, Curtis. I didn't really care about your character. But yeah, the feud between the two teams was fantastic. And I loved that. And just Oliver battling with that. I haven't known you for that long, so can I really trust you? And yeah, that was an incredible. I loved that part of the season the most, probably. Anyway, season 7, yeah, that was interesting. Then season 8 was probably the weirdest season because it was all leading up to Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was, it was cool, and it was the end of the multiverse and the birth of a new one, and so it was probably one of my favorite crossovers between all the shows. It was probably my favorite crossover between all the shows. Probably partially because Oliver dies, which I know I sound really weird and sadistic. I'm sorry. But yeah, it was. I'm trying to decide what was the weirdest. I feel like it started out a little bit weird to me, and then it got, my favorite episodes are probably after his kids came back from the future and him interacting with them and seeing adult them and them all interacting with their present day parents. That was probably the best part of the season. The previous episodes, which was the previous 3 episodes leading up to that, were a little meh to me. But those last episodes with their kids were great. I feel like the episode immediately after Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it's in the post-Crisis 2040, was a little bit weird and a little bit unnecessary. It almost would have, I don't know. I don't know how to word that. It was a little weird, and I feel like it almost didn't need to be there. Probably my least favorite episode in that entire season. But then the last episode, again, was great. And now I have to find William, her interacting with little baby William when she's an adult. I'm talking about Mia, sorry. When he is an adult. And then his funeral, because depression. But yeah, I really liked this series. And I'm just gonna say it. I have no interest in watching Black Lightning, Superman and Lois, Supergirl, Batwoman. I know there's more, but those are the ones off the top of my head. I don't care about them. That's like 5 shows I don't care about. And then there's Legends of Tomorrow, which I don't really have any not desire, but I don't have any motivation to watch it. I'm sure I'd find it interesting because time travel and it's heroes from these different shows that are coming together into a team. And so I've heard there's more interaction with like Malcolm Merlin and other characters. So I feel like I would be intrigued by it and it would be interesting to watch, but I don't have any motivation to watch it at this point. So we'll see. I might watch that one, but otherwise, all those other shows, I have literally no interest in watching whatsoever. But yeah. Sum up, because this was a crazy, all over the place review. I really liked Arrow. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 I probably enjoyed the most. Season 5 was great. I'm just going to rank these. Season 1, 2, and 3 are tied. And then it's season 5. And then season 4 is probably right after that. And 6 would be underneath 4 if I'm ranking them. And then 8 probably. And then 7 is probably on the bottom. Just because it felt like it was some of the stuff that happened was just drama's sake. So yeah, that was probably my least favorite season. But overall, I love the show. I did love the casting, and I love the characters. Most of them, some of them I couldn't care less about. Curtis, sorry. But yeah, that about sums it up. I love Deathstroke. He was probably my favorite villain in that entire thing. Just because I love the character of Deathstroke. I'm a little obsessed with the character of Deathstroke. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then Flash, first 2 seasons were interesting. By season 3, evil speedsters got really boring. And then it just got weirder and lower quality from there. So I don't really like any of the seasons after season 3. Season 3 is when it was getting really old, but the quality was still better, and there was storyline and plot stuff and character-wise. It was going better than all of the seasons after it. And then season 1 and 2 were actually pretty good. I do love Grant Gustin as the Flash, and he does very well as that character. Yeah, I don't care that much about the other characters. I might care most about, between all of the main characters who aren't Barry, between all of them, I might care about Cisco the most. Might. I still don't care about him a lot, but I probably care about him more than the other characters combined. But anyway, yeah, I am along for the ride on Flash. So, yeah, wait, I don't have to write characters on this one. This is a review, not a childhood favorites one. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say, that without repeating myself. I would definitely recommend Arrow to other people. I would recommend the first 2 seasons of The Flash to them, which is really hard to watch one of these shows and not end up getting dragged into all the other shows, because they have crossovers and then they have all the different parts are in the different shows, which is actually a very good marketing strategy. Having one part in this and then one part over in this one, then one part in this one and one part over here, and you're making you all search for it, is a very good marketing strategy, because then you have to look into the other shows, which could potentially get you hooked on them. So yeah, good marketing strategy. Very annoying when I am trying to watch one of the crossovers, because to some extent, not majorly, but to some extent, you do need to watch all of the entire crossover event thing in order to understand what happens next. But usually it's just a short reference a little reference that they make to it in a couple of the episodes after that. So it's not necessary, but it allows things to make more sense later. I think I worded that well. But anyway, yeah, that's my take on the Arrowverse, at least what I have watched so far. Possibly all that I will watch. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. So yeah, if you guys have any opinions on these shows, feel free to drop your thoughts in the comments. If you have watched some of the other shows and have one that you think I would enjoy, or that you really want me to watch or hear my thoughts on, I don't know. Like, if you really want me to watch Supergirl, tell me that down below. If you just want to confirm or try to give me motivation to watch Legends of Tomorrow, feel free to do that as well. But yeah, if you have any recommendations for things that I should watch, or things that you want me to review, or even maybe I could start doing reaction videos. I'd have to figure out how to do a format for that. But yeah, I don't know if I have the current setup to be able to do reaction videos, at least not in a way that you'd be able to see the video. That would be something to look into possibly. But anyway, things that you want me to review, react to, whatever, drop your thoughts in the comments. If you have noticed, I have started doing like little picture music videos of songs for the different fandoms that I am in. If you have any song recommendations for those, I'd love to hear those as well. Anyway, yep, I think that's it. Sorry, my brain has been all over the place for this video. Hopefully you were able to follow along for the most part. And yeah, I will see you all next time.